you ever made a 3D number or letter and wish you could make it a little bit bigger because you're stuck to a 12 by 12 size? Yeah, me too. But don't worry, that's exactly what today's episode of The Sam Show here on Auntie Tay's YouTube channel is all about. I'm going to show you my tips and tricks to make bigger 3D letters and numbers so you can have a huge impact on your party or celebration. Let's get started. Hey everyone, it's Sam from the Auntie Tay team and you're watching The Sam Show. Let's go make some fun things. To find the 3D numbers, you're going to go to paper crafting and scroll past the entire alphabet and then, stop. See the 40K? Yep, those are the 3D numbers. I am making a giant 1/5/15 for my dog Tucker, and I am keeping everything grouped on its own while I resize it. That is a huge tip. You do not want to ungroup it until you have it the size you want. What I like to do is I like to get a square and make it 12 by 12 because that's the size of my biggest sheets of paper. And you can go bigger than this if you want, but when it comes to decorating your number, if you want to do that outside banner, you would have to slice it if you go bigger than 12 by 12. Now, depending on the number and the way it was designed is going to determine how you're going to want to proceed with the next step. You're going to want to change the cut lines to score lines for all the side pieces, but if the score lines are attached like the one is, so if I were to move them off of it, they were attached for both pieces, I don't like messing with it, so I just hide them and I'll hand score them. It's not that hard. You can cut and slice and do all of that and then line them back up and reattach them. I just think it's easier to hand score it with this bigger size with the poster board as is. So the number 5 I kept scored because each piece was designed with the score on its own, and then the 1 I hid. And now I'm going to show you how I cut it out of poster board. So what I'm doing is just folding it in half. I know that my pieces aren't wide enough, but you can either fold it and then cut it or cut it to fit your mat, and you're gonna need a 12 by 24 mat for this project. I cut it to size and then just cut it on poster board setting like you would normally cut paper out, and cut all of your pieces out. Now I'm going to show you how to score your pieces that you weren't able to score on your Cricut. Using a cutting mat just to protect your surface, I use the dull side of an X-Acto knife and a ruler to go along that edge. You can also use your scoring pen from your Cricut too, or I've actually used a weeding tool. You can use the backside of scissors. You can use a lot. And you're going to want to put a score line wherever it divots in and then along the edge where you can tell that there's a flap. You'll get really good at being able to see it and knowing. So like on this end, I'll score the 2 sides and then I'll be able to see where that little piece on the edge is supposed to get scored. It's really that simple. It's not that much harder. Like I said, you can either spend the time redesigning it to make it cut and score on your Cricut, or you can do it yourself. Then when I am folding it, I like to make sure that the non-glossy side, you know how poster board has like the shiny glossy side and then the matte side, I like to make sure the matte side is on the outside for our next step. For the most part, I like to use hot glue because it holds the poster board a little bit better, but I do use super tight fusion tack as well. So once we have our numbers, they're plain and boring, right? No, wrong, we're going to change that. We are going to spray paint them. Because most of the time poster board you cannot get in that many colors, I have found that spray painting is by far the easiest way when decorating these numbers. So I just set up a little box in my garage and I go to town. I used 3 different colors of blue and I wanted to do an ombre effect. You want to do very, very thin layers because you do not want the poster board to get soggy and you don't want your paint to drip. It does get a little bit tricky the more you paint it to get every angle. I wear gloves so I don't get my hands covered in spray paint, and this is outside or in my garage when I have the doors open. Just use common sense when spray painting. But yeah, you just want to make sure you get every angle. The 5 is pretty tricky compared to the 1, but you just have to get on different angles, turn it around, let it dry, flip it a different way, paint it, the best way. And when it comes to ombre, it's just kind of practice. The closer you get, the more the spray paint is going to be less blended. So for my first layer, I was just trying to get the colors on kind of where I wanted them placed, and then my second and third layer I went in and I did it a lot farther away so that I looked a little bit more blended, almost like I had mixed the paints. Once the paint is dry, you can decorate it with any of the Auntie membership files and add-ons, and I absolutely love how this turned out. This was such a big milestone. 15 years for a dog does not come that often, and I'm so glad I was able to celebrate it on such an extreme big level with my dog Tucker. I hope you guys loved this tutorial and it sparked some inspiration on how you can go big at your next party. Bye guys, see you next time.